An amazing discovery has been made. An ancient letter from a Roman named Aurelius Lenis gives a detailed description of Jesus Christ. Aurelius claimed to have seen Jesus with his own eyes, knew him closely, and wrote letters to Caesar in Rome about what he observed. In this video, we will explore every part of his description of Jesus, and it might completely change how you picture him. In many parts of the world, paintings and artwork show Jesus as a man with fair skin, blue eyes, and long hair. But is that what Jesus really looked like? Let's find out. If you believe in God and are watching this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What most of us know about Jesus' appearance comes from movies, images, and accounts influenced by cultural ideas over 2,000 years. However, recent scientific studies give us a better understanding of what he might have looked like. The discovery of Aurelius Lenis's letter gained worldwide attention because it describes Jesus in detail, based on personal encounters. For centuries, especially in the West, Jesus has often been portrayed as having fair skin, light brown or blonde wavy hair, a beard and blue eyes. But the Bible doesn't describe Jesus' physical features, and historical evidence suggests he likely looked very different from these artistic depictions. Church leaders like Justin Martyr and Origen referred to Isaiah 53, which describes Jesus as having no beauty or majesty that would attract people to him. Origen and others also mentioned that Jesus had an ordinary appearance, far from the idealized images we often see. On the other hand, Psalm 45 describes Jesus as the most beautiful of men, suggesting that people might have experienced his beauty in a spiritual, rather than physical way. This discovery encourages us to rethink how we imagine Jesus and explore the deeper meaning behind his presence. St. Augustine also discussed this, stating that everyone visualizes Jesus in their own way. He noted that while there are countless imagined representations of Jesus, there is only one true appearance of him. According to St. Augustine, how we picture Jesus does not affect our salvation. What truly matters is recognizing him as a human being. In the 4th century, Bishop Elilo of Jerusalem explained that Jesus appears differently to each person based on their needs. For those seeking joy, he shows himself as a vine. For those searching for guidance, he is the door. For those needing intercession, he is the high priest. And for sinners, he is the sacrificial lamb. Jesus adapts to everyone while staying true to his unchanging essence and role as the Son of God. Like a caring doctor and teacher, he meets us where we are. Interestingly, the earliest depictions of Jesus show him as a youthful and idealized figure. However, after Roman Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity in the 4th century, images of Christ began to change, with the bearded image becoming more common. This shift might be linked to the new freedom to display important relics, such as the Mandelion. Many scholars believe this relic is the Shroud of Turin and the Veil of Veronica, both considered to have miraculous images of Christ formed without human intervention. The only physical description of Jesus we have comes from a letter sent by the Roman consul Linus to Emperor Tiberius, which was found in a monastery along with other ancient documents. The letter, dating back to the 12th year of Tiberius's reign, describes Jesus as having a noble, expressive face, light, slightly wavy hair, dark, arched eyebrows, and intense blue eyes. It also mentions that Jesus had a long nose, a slightly blonde beard that wasn't very long, and long hair that had never been cut. His neck was slightly tilted, giving him a look of neither severity nor arrogance. His face, tanned to the color of ripe corn, showed seriousness, wisdom, gentleness, and kindness, with no signs of anger. This description aligns with the information from the Shroud of Turin. Professor Giovanni Giudica Cordiglia, a forensic medicine expert who studied the shroud, concluded that the man in the shroud was of great beauty and remarkable stature. Standing around 6 feet tall with perfect proportions, he had a soft, gentle face, a broad, straight forehead, a slightly downward tilted nose, and large, slightly prominent cheeks. Anthropometric studies suggest that Jesus had a physical condition far superior to the average man. His cranial capacity was around 1,775 cubic centimeters, indicating he had a larger head and a brain that weighed approximately 1.5 kilograms, which is well above average and could indicate extraordinary intelligence. In 1940, Artist Warner Sallman created the famous painting Head of Christ, which became incredibly popular. It was reproduced on millions of items, including prints, plaques, bookmarks, greeting cards, and even products like clocks and coffee mugs. Stephen Prothero, the author of American Jesus, notes that the popularity of this image turned Jesus from a familiar figure into a national icon in the United States, recognized by people of all races and religions. According to Prothero, this image of Jesus has become the most common worldwide, even more so than Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. The Head of Christ has become both a personal devotional item and a subject of academic study. In the 1990s, a study funded by the Lilly Endowment explored the impact of Sallman's art on religion in America. Art historian David Morgan led the project, which produced a collection of essays titled Icons of American Protestantism: The Art of Warner Sallman. Morgan gathered over 500 personal responses, and most respondents said the image appealed to them because it looked exactly like they imagined Jesus. This is interesting, considering no one in the 1990s could have witnessed Jesus' actual appearance. Morgan believes the image's realistic, almost photographic quality, with its soft contours and gentle lighting, makes it feel like a personal memory, similar to photos of loved ones. Another reason for the image's popularity is its close-up portrayal of Jesus, from the shoulders up, without any other context. This allows people to place Jesus in their own personal context, and the lack of interaction with other figures creates a more intimate connection. The gentle gaze in the painting conveys warmth, kindness, and compassion, which resonates with many people seeking a loving image of the Savior. The Gospels and archaeological findings offer some clues about Jesus' clothing. He likely wore an undyed wool tunic, which left his lower legs exposed, and possibly an undergarment, along with a cloak for warmth. His shoes were probably similar to modern sandals. Given the high cost of clothing at the time, Jesus likely repaired his garments unless he received new ones from someone. Over time, his clothes would have become more worn. However, the Bible provides little information about his physical appearance. Most of what we know about Jesus comes from the first 4 books of the New Testament, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These texts tell us that Jesus was a Jewish man born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, in the region of Galilee, during the 1st century. According to the Gospel of Luke, Jesus was around 30 years old when he started his public ministry, as mentioned in chapter 3, verse 23. The Bible doesn't give much detail about Jesus' physical appearance, only noting that he didn't look different from others. This is shown in the Garden of Gethsemane before his crucifixion, where Judas Iscariot had to point out Jesus to the soldiers among his disciples, suggesting that Jesus did not stand out physically. Some scholars believe that the book of Revelation gives us hints about Jesus' appearance. It describes his hair as white like wool or snow, his eyes like flames of fire, and his feet like polished bronze, as if they were refined in a furnace. Revelation 1 verses 14 to 15. These descriptions may point to unique physical traits, though they are often seen as symbolic or spiritual. Over time, the way artists have portrayed Jesus has changed a lot. Early Christian art often showed him as a beardless young man, symbolizing purity and his role as the Good Shepherd. This image was common in the catacombs of Rome and in mosaics, which aimed to show a friendly side of Jesus. One of the oldest images of Jesus, found about 200 years after his death in the catacombs of Santa Domitilla in Rome, shows him as a young man with short hair, beardless, carrying a lamb on his shoulders. In 2018, another ancient image of Jesus was found in a ruined church in southern Israel, dating from the 6th century. This painting shows Jesus with short, curly hair, a style common in the Eastern Byzantine Empire at the time, especially in Egypt and Syria. Later, representations of Jesus began to change, influenced by Greek and Roman gods like Zeus. By the 4th century, images of Jesus with long hair and a beard became more common, often showing him in a long tunic, sitting on a throne, as seen in a 5th century mosaic in the Church of Santa Pudenziana in Rome. Sometimes, a halo surrounds his head. However, it's important to note that not all depictions of Jesus follow this Western style. Different cultures around the world depict him in ways that resemble their own people. For example, some portray him as black, Arab, or Hispanic. One of the most famous relics associated with Jesus is the Shroud of Turin, which is believed by many to have covered Jesus after his crucifixion. The image on the cloth is said to show Jesus' face, though there is debate over its authenticity. Some question whether the shroud should be used as a reference for how he looked. In 2001, artist and retired Dr. Richard Neve worked with a team of forensic anthropologists from Israel and the UK to create a new image of Jesus. Using a first-century skull from the region and computer modeling techniques, they reconstructed his appearance based on what was known about the physical traits of Jews from that time. The result was a figure about 5 feet 5 inches tall, with darker skin, dark eyes, and short, curly hair. While no one claims this reconstruction is exactly how Jesus looked, it is seen by scholars as a more likely representation of his true appearance. While Western depictions of Jesus are the most well-known, many cultures around the world portray him differently, raising the question of how we should understand his true appearance. What did Jesus really look like? Forensic anthropology, a scientific field that uses crime-solving methods, has started to offer some answers. British scientists, with support from Israeli archaeologists, have created what they believe is the most accurate representation of Jesus's face. Forensic anthropology combines cultural and archaeological information with knowledge from biology and physical sciences to study different populations. Experts in this field need to understand genetics, human growth, and development. They also use knowledge from primatology, the study of primates, paleoanthropology, the study of human evolution, and human osteology, the study of bones. Experts in areas like nutrition, dentistry, and climate adaptation are also essential to this research. Richard Neve, who had experience reconstructing the faces of historical figures, realized forensic anthropology could also help recreate Jesus's face. Neve had already worked on figures like Philip II of Macedon and King Midas. For Neve's project, he began by looking at skulls from the region near Jerusalem, where Jesus lived. Israeli archaeologists made these skulls available for the study. Using CT scans, Neve's team created detailed images of these skulls. Then, they used computer programs to analyze data on face tissue thickness and human features. This information allowed them to digitally reconstruct a face based on a Semitic skull. A clay mold was made from the skull, with the team shaping the nose, lips, and eyelids based on muscle patterns. However, some features like Jesus's hair and skin color couldn't be determined by the skull alone. For this, Neve's team consulted first-century drawings from archaeological sites, which suggested Jesus had dark eyes and wore a beard, in line with Jewish traditions. While many religious artists depict Jesus with long hair, most scholars believe he had short, curly hair, as was common for men in that era. This contrasts with the image on the Shroud of Turin, often seen as the most authentic representation of Jesus, which shows him with long hair. Some argue that the Apostle Paul, who criticized men with long hair, would not have said this if Jesus had long hair. Neve's team concluded that Jesus likely had short hair, based on ancient drawings. Studies of skeletal remains also suggest that the average height of a Semitic man at the time was around 5 feet 3 inches, 1.6 meters, weighing around 110 pounds, 50 kilograms. As a carpenter until age 30, Jesus may have been more muscular than the traditional depictions of him. Neve's sculpture of Jesus, which shows him as a dark-skinned, robust Middle Eastern man, challenges traditional portraits. Neve points out that his reconstruction represents an adult man from the same time and region as Jesus. Not everyone agrees with this depiction, though. In his 2018 book, What Did Jesus Look Like?, historian Taylor analyzed archaeological remains and ancient art to argue that Jesus likely had brown eyes, dark hair, and olive-toned skin. Taylor suggests he was about 5 feet 5 inches tall, the average height of men at the time. While some people agree that these more realistic features are closer to how Jesus looked, Taylor reminds us that we can never be sure. The debate over Jesus's appearance has gone on for centuries. While Renaissance artists often depicted him as a tall, muscular European with blonde hair and blue eyes, most historians believe Jesus, born in Palestine, shared physical traits typical of the locals: shorter, sturdier, and with curly black hair. To add another layer, a Dutch photographer used artificial intelligence to create a more accurate image of Jesus, combining different cultural representations and adjusting the ethnicity to fit the historical context. This AI-generated image of Jesus showed Middle Eastern features, including dark hair and a beard styled in a way consistent with the era. We don't have representations of Jesus from his time because early Christians avoided creating images to prevent idolatry, as the Ten Commandments prohibited such depictions. The first known image of Jesus, found in Syria, dates back about 200 years after his resurrection. Early depictions show him as a shepherd or healing the sick. As Christianity grew, art became a way to teach those who couldn't read about Jesus' life. These representations, influenced by Roman and Greek culture, reflect the time's views on Jesus' appearance. Ultimately, the Bible teaches us to value inner qualities, not outward appearances, reminding us that Jesus' true message is what matters most.